Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Platform 1 with me and Dave.
Hello.
Here at the Hands Hub. We're going to be live for a little bit longer today. We've got a very special bumper size episode for you. You might have noticed earlier this week we made a bit of a major announcement, didn't we?
We did indeed in Double O Gauge. We put a bit of an announcement out there, so we'll be with you for an hour and a half today, right up until 2:30.
That's it. So I will be magically transported away at the end of the first hour, and our product development expert will be coming in to the show as a special part for half an hour at the end to do a Q&A all about our new Genesis 4 and 6 wheel coaches, and you'll be able to ask any questions you like all about the project and find out more. So that's going to be very exciting today, isn't it?
It is indeed. We've had a great response so far to the project that we announced on Tuesday morning. If you're not familiar with it, do take a quick look on our website and all the details are there. But we will be featuring the announcement video too, and also having a half an hour long Q&A session on the coaches as well. So get your questions ready.
That's it. Get those questions down there in the chat. We've already got quite a few people here already. It's great to see you all back again, and some newcomers here too, by the looks of it. We've got Nintendo Games says hi. Simon Anthony James, Jamie Smith, Bluegrrl fan, once again from Kentucky is here. 700 Shunter, all the way from Australia, is tuning in. Clive Kobold from Northern Ireland. Kaitlyn Lee Lewan from Sydney, Australia is here today. Garvin Neely, live from Chicago. Onno Mulder from Holland. Stephen Thurkett from Germany, and quite a few other guys here today. So thank you all very much for joining us. A few familiar faces there again. So thanks very much for being part of the show, guys.
Great to have you here.
So it's been a busy week.
It's been another busy week. I know we say it every week, but it's because it's true.
It is.
It's a busy week, not only with our own Project Genesis announcement, but also really great new models coming through. We've had releases and announcements by other manufacturers as well. So it's really kept us on our toes this week, and of course we're about to bring you all the latest news and updates, so you'll find out too.
That's it. For good enough to start with the obvious one, aren't we? We've got three rather large coaches here on the table.
Well, this was a physically big and a really big new release this week that came in as well. This is the second batch of Hattons O-Gauge Auto coaches. These are based on the Diagram N model, and these were built in real life in the early 1900s, but used by the Great Western Railway right up until the late 1950s. So the liveries carry through there, from the more typical GWR chocolate and cream that you can see on the screen, right through to BR Crimson and BR Crimson and Cream as well. And also this interesting one, which is the first time I've seen it made ready to run. It's GWR Crimson Lake livery, which was just before World War I. And I've never seen a model in any scale of this ready to run in this livery before.
I don't think I've ever seen that either. It's a totally unique one, this, isn't it? And Dapple's really very nicely created this here. It's a lovely looking livery, and it really suits these coaches too.
There's a lot of high detail on there. There's lining. There's really bringing out the Edwardian liveries that are on there as well.
Those crests on there too.
And I mean, let's be honest, when people think of the Great Western Railway, they think of chocolate and cream and a green locomotive. That's pretty much how it's been for over 150 years. But they did experiment with this livery for about 10 to 12 years, so actually it's really nice to see in model form. And of course in real life too, you do have the GWR steam rail motor in this livery, which is kind of an auto coach itself, but has the power inside it too, with the steam boiler in there. So, but
this livery, again, that's normally something you'd associate with the LMS, really, isn't it? That Crimson Lake
It really is.
scheme.
It really is. So it's nice to see it on the GWR item at rolling stock.
If you're really a fan of that livery, it gives you an opportunity to run it on your layout as well.
And of course, these are a little bit different themselves as well, being auto coaches. So they do work, as we've got here on the table. You'd have a single locomotive, a single coach that work in a push and pull formation. And this was the forerunner of the multiple unit we see today all over the UK's railways and across the world. This is where the technology started. You had driver's controls in the cab at one end, which were worked with the fireman in the locomotive. So if you were heading that way, you'd have the driving from that. But if you're heading forwards, as traditional, you'd have the driver and the fireman in the locomotive. So it really makes that push and pull operation, which is fantastic for O-Gauge modelers to fit a full train in just over 2.5 feet.
I'm glad you mentioned that, really. And these come in at just £170 for one coach, which for the level of detail you're getting here, and the fact that you are buying essentially an entire train in one coach, as long as you've got a loco to pull it. It really represents great value for money. If you've got a smaller O-Gauge layout, not got quite so much room, or you just want something end to end, it's absolutely perfect for that. And like, we've already pointed out this 64XX here, this is also available at a bargain price right now. So it really is quite a cost-effective way into O-Gauge if you're looking at that sort of thing.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great Locos either available now or on the way that are what they call auto-fitted. So they will work with an auto coach in push-pull. We've got the 64XX, which is available now. We've got the Dapol 14XX coming in O-Gauge as well, which will be available towards the end of the year for under £200.
Looking forward to that one.
We've got the 57XX pannier tank. There's the small Prairie. There's various different locomotives coming through that work with these. So these really have been on a lot of modelers' wish lists in these intricate Edwardian liveries for quite some time.
It really is just such a useful coach, isn't it? There's a lot of places you can get one of these in, and there's easy to make an excuse one, especially with it working right up into BR usage as well. There's quite a few different eras covered there. And Dapol's done a fantastic job with this model, haven't they? There's even a few tooling variations I can see just on the table right now. You've got plated over windows on the BR editions there, as opposed to an original GWR condition with windows on both sides.
And there's a full interior as well. There's separately fitted couplings, brake pipes, buffers, underframe detailing on there too. It really is the full suite of detailing and technology on it as well. But there is also DCC sound versions coming too.
No way.
It's a little bit unusual for a coach, to be quite honest.
How does that work then?
Well, the main thing with these is to communicate between the driver in the coach and the fireman in the locomotive. They had a bell system that sounded, so they rang a bell and communicated, kind of like it works on modern multiple units now with the driver and the guard at different ends.
I see.
So the DCC sound in the coach will replicate that bell system. It will have doors slamming, passengers talking.
All right.
So it's something a little bit unusual, but you do have sound in the coaches as well as the Locos, so it's great that that's coming to life.
Well, especially for those static station scenes you want to create or something like that, that's perfect for that.
It really is.
I'm sure I'll be able to hear this at a lot of exhibitions across the country in the future as well.
Oh, absolutely.
It'll become a familiar thing to hear, I'm sure.
But for me, certainly, an auto coach and a single green locomotive, that screams Great Western to
Absolutely.
me. A lot of other companies experimented with it, but not quite as much as the Great Western, and they kept it going for over 40 years. And you can do that full history through these coaches, right from the late Victorian era, early Edwardian era, up until the 1950s, where you've got the Crimson and Cream as well, so you can cover pretty much the whole lifespan of auto coaches.
Like you said as well about this being essentially the precursor to the DMU, the GWR were always a very advanced railway company. They're always working on very revolutionary designs, and this was just one of them. And as I've already mentioned, with it working so late into BR usage as well, it really was a very successful design, wasn't it? So there's little excuse not to run one on your O-Gauge layout too.
Especially if you've got a smaller layout as well, with not so much space to fit it in. You've got a full train in that size too, so really do recommend them and taking a look.
That's it. Now, these are, as we've already said, this is available right now from £170. There are different versions coming later, as Dave touched on, with the digital sound in there, and I believe there's light bar fitted ones coming through too, aren't there?
There is as well, so you can have the coach fully illuminated too.
So if you want one right now, you can get them on our website. Head to the link in the description, and you can find out more on our website too. So we've got a couple of comments here as well. Ian B says they're really excellent. Bluegrrl Rail Fan also says, I've never seen the couplings on UK O-Gauge models. Lionel, MTH and Atlas here in the States he's used to and he's seen, but he's not seen what they're like here. So these got screw-link couplings on these, haven't they?
These have got replications of the true screw-link couplings that are fitted to these vehicles in real life as well. So it's a little bit of an extra area with O-Gauge too, in that you've got the full traditional coupling up rather than the tension lock couplings in double O and N-Gauge. So if you want that authentic coupling up procedure, it's a little bit fiddly to do sometimes, so you might need a pair of tweezers or something to help you out.
But you have got that full realism there.
It is the full realism. It's, again, as we've mentioned before, it's getting the difference between model locomotives and miniature railways, really. And that's just another angle that helps along with it. So,
and especially now with all this digital sound of the coaches as well coming through, it really is bridging that gap even more.
Absolutely, and we do have full resolution pictures on our website as well, so if you do want a closer up look at those couplings, take a look there.
That's it. So I think now we're going to have to go for something opposite end of the scale, really, aren't we, in terms of era, scale, usage, the works, aren't we?
Well, pretty much the only thing in common here is that it's made by Dapol, otherwise we do switch around quite a bit. And this is something that N-Gauge modelers have been really asking for quite a few years, especially modern image modelers. And this is a re-release of the N-Gauge cargo wagons. Now, these were first released about 8 to 9 years ago, and there's actually only been one run of them made available. And they did sell very quickly at the time, so a lot of people have been asking. Unfortunately, they're coming back to the range. They're available to pre-order right now for £19. And as said, really, these are something that a lot of people have been asking for to come back. But these wagons go right back to the late 1970s as well, and a lot of international workings between UK and various places in Europe too. They were built in Germany and used for services either on boat trains at the time or then through the Channel Tunnel, and they're still in service today.
Oh, they really are an unusual wagon, these, aren't they? There's nothing quite so large and that sort of shape on the network, and as you pointed out, they were built in Europe and were used for trans-country services between the UK and Europe, and they're still in use now. So there's not much else like this you can actually see on the main line, so they really are quite a unique wagon, but they do get a lot of usage, don't they?
And when they were introduced in the 1970s, they really were revolutionary compared to a lot of four-wheel and smaller vehicles. Okay, you had a lot of bogie vehicles too, but nothing quite that size, and even now, as you said, there's nothing really close to them, and they've been used to a huge variety of traffic from general goods and different shipping methods as well. But also, one of the methods they used was Taunton cider, down in the southwest of England. So they actually had their own branded cider wagons as well.
Oh, wow.
So in the time where a lot of vehicles were either in BR grey, BR bauxite, rail freight liveries, this bright brown and cream livery with Taunton cider written on the side really added an extra level. Plus as well, the cargo wagon livery that the wagons are coming out in, and blue circle cement too, which is bright yellow. It really will stand out amongst a fleet of BR blue locomotives and BR brown rolling stock.
Well, it is unusual for a wagon of this size to be that sort of almost garish in a colour scheme, isn't it? Usually they'd be a lot more subdued, and it's normally private owner wagons that we associate with the 1940s or 50s with the bright liveries that we think about with that. So it's odd to see something that's probably about the size of, if it was an O gauge, it'd be about the size of one of these coaches, wouldn't it?
And we can't ignore the price as well. It's a long bogie wagon for under £20.
Yeah.
Even in N-gauge, that's an incredible price for you to get a long rake of these or make them up as part of a 1980s Speedlink freight, accompanying vehicles such as the Sonic Models VEA that we had on Platform 1 a couple of weeks ago as well. For £19 for a wagon of that length, to me, it's an incredible price. And
there's a lot of Locos that these ran with as well, so there's a lot of choice out there for you N-gauge modelers in that regard as well. We'll just take another look at the photos here to let you have another look, and this is of the original batch that came out a few years ago, but you can see that even they are very nice. There's a lot of printing on there, all these labelling on the side, they're actually legible, which is quite impressive for N-gauge.
But also that's matched by the fully detailed bogies, the handbrake wheels on the side there, the couplings and the end framework too, you can just see on the right there. So the detail matches that quality of printing as well. And it really is just unlike pretty much any other wagon on the network in the 70s, but you've also got coming up to 40 years of history. So if you're a modern N-gauge modeler, whether you model BR Blue or DB Schenker or anything in between, you've pretty much got an excuse to have some cargo wagons on your layout. They ran across most of the UK and coming up for half a century now, really.
That's it, and like you say, for £19 each, it is really easy to build up a rake of one of those. Now, when are these due in, Dave?
They are due in at the start of 2020, so nice. Not that long to wait either.
So if you're feeling some post-Christmas blues at the start of the year, you know what to get, don't you? But so there's 6 or 7 different variations of these coming through, is there as well?
There are indeed. There's 2 in the livery we saw on the photographs there with the yellow branded cargo wagon lettering. There are 2 more with white stripes on that livery, and then there are 2 more in the aforementioned blue and yellow blue circle cement livery.
I'm really excited to see these coming through. Yeah. So if you want to pre-order yours, there's a link down in the description to do just that. And I would definitely recommend doing that because we've only had one batch of these before, haven't we? And they sold through pretty quickly. So I'm expecting these to go through just as fast as well.
They really do go like hotcakes and have been in a lot of modelers' demand over the years since they were first released too. So as soon as people catch wind that they're coming through, including yourselves maybe, they really will start to fly off the shelves.
Oh, I don't doubt that. Right, we've got a couple of comments here. We've got Bluegrrl Railfan and Max Lookham. They're both saying they're going to plan on getting some of those. So I do hope you enjoy those when they come through early next year. Right, so speaking of new things on the horizon, we've had some updates from Hornby, but that stuff is coming even closer than we think.
Yes.
We've got something which we showed off a few episodes ago, I believe. It is the latest edition of the Class A4 462 in this highly unusual experimental purple colour scheme. And this is Walter K. Wigham, number 60028.
This is a real hidden gem in the BR fleet. Not a lot of people know that some locomotives were painted in this purple livery as a trial in 1948, just after the formation of British Railways, when they were finalising what livery their express passenger locomotives were going to be painted in. In the end, they ended up in express passenger blue and green and some in maroon as well. But this purple was carried by about 20 locomotives across a couple of different classes. And it's only the second time it's been released on an A4 as well. So it's a real unusual one to get hold of. And the purple livery's captured people's imaginations as well.
It totally has, like we've pointed out a few streams ago, and also on social media as well. Loads of people are really excited about this livery coming through, and it goes to show that there pretty much isn't a livery that looks bad on an A4, and there was a lot of guys theorising in the comments last time about what other liveries they might have liked to have seen an A4 in.
Yes.
But the purple, like you say, it's an imagination catcher, and it's just something totally unique, and it really will make a statement on your layout as well.
I think it's great for fans of the Gresley Pacifics who may have all the colours already, who have the Garter blue, the Express Passenger blue, BR green, maybe one of the original silver locomotives, such as Silver Link or Silver King. But not a lot of people have that gap filled with a purple one, and it's really the last thing in a lot of people's collections too, to make sure they've got every livery carried by the class. So if you are an A4 aficionado, or you're just a fan of that BR transition era, it's a really good one to look at. So have a look at that link in the description.
That's it. If you're an LNER fan, you can't not have that as part of your collection, can you? It's totally unique. So something a bit more modern now, we've also got Hornby's Class 92s. The next batch of those are coming through very soon. Now these are coming through in the contemporary Caledonian Sleeper and GBRF livery. So the Caledonian one you can still see out and about today, can't you, on shunting about the coaches into London Euston and other duties as well. And then the GBRF ones are still out and about as well, aren't they?
Well, the 92s are really going through a new lease of life over the last 3 or 4 years or so. They were designed in the 1990s and never really got used for what they were intended for. Being a fully international locomotive, they did work into France occasionally through the Channel Tunnel, but they never really got tested and fully used as they could have done until GBRF got hold of them about 5 years ago, after which they've gone for a full modernisation and upgrade package to really make them into the powerful locomotives they always deserve to be. It's quite a technical design, it's got a huge amount of power, and GBRF are really starting to use those now, not only on the traditional freight services across the UK, in delivery we can see there on the screen at the moment, but also the Caledonian Sleeper services too, which are transferring over to the Mark V coaches, and they can be seen between London, Glasgow and Edinburgh, but also on the shunting duties at either end too. It's
like you say, these really have gotten a new lease of life in the past few years, and it's just really great to see that these locomotives are getting the use they deserve, really, because they are gargantuan things, and they really have a tremendous amount of power for the services that they're going to be used on. So it's a shame that they haven't really been realised to their full potential for the last decade or so, isn't it? But it's great that they're out and about, and that means it's a great time for a modern image modeler to get them on their layout too, because you can see these out and about quite a lot, and there is a lot of different stock that you can run with these now as well.
And this model's had a recent sort of upgrade as well over the last couple of years, alongside the real life locomotives. It now has an 8-pin digital socket, space for a DCC sound speaker, NEM couplings, fully working lighting as well, posable pantograph on there. It's a great locomotive, and it comes in at under £100 as well. So for a fully modern electric loco for your layout in a really bright contemporary livery, it's a great one to go for.
Total bargain. Hornby's done a great job this year bringing through some bargain price locos, really, and some multiple units too for modern image modelers. So there's been quite a lot of choice out there if you're on a bit of a budget as well. So we've got quite a few comments already about these Hornby releases. We've got Watermill Films has got a question, and he says, when you pre-order, can you pay straight away? Now, we actually don't offer that, unfortunately. So when you place a pre-order, there's no money up front, and the cash comes out when the model comes into stock. Either our help desk team will be in touch with you if there's an issue with the card or something like that, but it will process automatically once the model comes into stock. Ono Mulder says, awesome loco, 60028. Locos throughout says, don't tell her, but I'm getting my wife the A4 for Christmas. We'll keep that quiet.
Keep the secret there.
Jack Gerling says, purple livery was a really good idea on the A4s. Ethan Amstutz says, what other locos besides the A4 carried the purple livery?
Only a couple, actually. It was mainly the A4s and a couple of Kings on the Great Western Railway as well, alongside 1s and 2s of other express passenger locomotives. There was a Merchant Navy, I believe there was a Duchess as well, an LMS Duchess, so there was a couple out there, but the main ones that saw it were the Kings and the A4s.
Right.
But it wasn't many. It was only about 20 or so before they really settled on that express passenger blue.
So it really is a unique scheme, that one, isn't it?
Bit of a rarity.
Bluegrrl Rail fan again here, and he says that the GBRF scheme is really sharp looking as well, which it really is. Don't forget, guys, as well, we've got our special Genesis Q&A at the end of the show as well. We've got another half an hour added on to the end of this week's episode, so do get your questions down in the chat. Our development team will be here to answer all your questions as well, so do make sure you get those questions down there. Right, we're not quite finished on the Hornby stuff either. There's lots coming over the next few weeks, so we're really excited to see it. Next up, we've got the next batch of Class 60s coming through.
We have indeed, and this is pretty much the livery on the Class 60, really. The rail freight triple grey you see there.
You think of a Class 60, that's what comes up, isn't it?
This is what they were built for. They were introduced in the late 1980s, and 100 of them were built for heavy aggregates moving, freight duties, that sort of thing. And it's what they're still used on today in more contemporary liveries such as DB Schenker and GBRF. But this was the livery that started it all. This goes back right to that development of rail freight in the 1980s. And if you think of a Class 60, this is what you think of. But Hornby hasn't released too many of the locomotives in these original liveries over the years. So again, it's what a lot of people have been asking for.
Absolutely.
And it's great to know one's just about to come in the next 2 weeks, as are the 92s and A4s that we previously mentioned.
That's it. Like you said, these are still in use today, and it's really great to see this powerful locomotive still around on the main line now. I'd almost say it's the quiet behind the riot, really, isn't it? You've got the 66s out there, which are always really visible, and loads of other diesel freight locomotives, but you don't hear much about the 60s that often, do you? But they're still out there, and they're still performing a lot of really important freight traffic.
They are still out there, and they're used by a lot of different operators, but yeah, they just get on with it.
Yeah, they're just doing their job, aren't they?
They just crack on and
no
do the
problems.
job. And hence, they don't really get a mention too often, but they do have a big sort of fan following as well.
They do.
And they have a real sort of cult behind them. So really good to get it in those original liveries. And a lot of the locomotives, when they were named initially as well, were named after either places in the UK or different UK personalities as well. So some real strong names in there too. A lot of mountains in there, a lot of scenic locations.
Well, this one that's coming through is Bow Fell, isn't it? So yeah, that's that theme.
Maybe places with a lot of memories for people in there as well.
Great stuff. So we're really excited to see that coming through, because the Hornby 60s are always proved to be a really popular seller too. So do make sure, if you want to get one of those, pop your pre-order right now, and the link is in the description to do just that. We've got another fantastic, iconic diesel locomotive now as well. We've got 2 new Class 47s coming through, 47-7 subclasses to be exact, and these are in the Royal liveries, aren't they?
Yes, now this is a return for the Hornby Railroad Class 47, which, even though it's in the Railroad range, does come with a digital socket, really fine detailing on an intricate livery application as well. But this is the first time we've seen not one, but both of the Royal Class 47s, which were used for powering the Royal train in between the early 1990s and the mid-2000s until it was taken over by Class 67s.
That's a really iconic colour scheme right there, isn't it? It's something you don't see every day. You've got that very sharp band of yellow down the centre on top of that maroon colour scheme, and you've got the Royal crest on there as well. So this is a really unique locomotive for your collection. Pretty
much from day one of railway history, there's always a case of Royal allocated locomotives, specific engines used to power the Royal train, and they were dolled up to the nines. They always had the full details painted on there. A lot of them were cleaned especially for the occasion, repainted especially for the occasion. And then in the late 1980s, locomotives were actually designated purely for those duties with the Class 47s we see there. So they're fully painted up into that Royal Claret livery. But they did perform a lot of other duties as well at the same time when they weren't needed for Royal train duties. They powered passenger trains, mail trains, sometimes even a freight, which is a little bit of a juxtaposition.
Must have felt pretty honoured for the driver to be heading that freight.
But also as well, one of the locomotives you see there, number 47798, is preserved at the National Railway Museum in the Royal Train livery as well.
Oh, wow.
To commemorate it. So you can recreate that little bit of history, but also the fact that it's there in real life. And again, these come in at just under £80 each as well. So
which is a real bargain for what you're getting. It's like you sort of touched on earlier. Going for a budget loco doesn't mean you always have to compromise on features, and the 47 has enough to get you going. You've got the digital capability in there, there's a nice amount of detail, and like we've seen from Hornby a lot this year with some of the budget models they've been producing, delivery applications are absolutely superb on these, and this is shaping up to be another one of those.
The quality of printing doesn't change between the railroad range and the normal sort of full fat range as well, really, but you do get a great loco on a good budget as well. And if you wanted to, if you really wanted to go the whole hog, you could put a TTS digital sound decoder in there, because there is one available for a Class 47, and for just over £100 you've got a sound fitted diesel locomotive, and that's ludicrous price-wise.
Difficult to do in these days, isn't it? So that's bargain of the century, really, when you think about it, for a diesel locomotive. We've got a few more comments down there. We've got James Akers says, I wish I modelled a modern era, otherwise the new Class 60 will be an early Christmas present. Never too late to start, is it?
That's it.
Gareth Waite says he loves the look of the 47. It's looking really great. And Jack Galing thinks that the railroad range can be underestimated. I'd like to agree with that one, really. There's a lot of fantastic railroad locomotives, and we've had quite a few this year already. New liveries coming through and new models coming out as well. Obviously, we've got the 47s, as we've just shown there. But another one which we always had as a really popular style was the Hall class steam locomotive as well. And that was a tremendous locomotive, a lot of detail in there. And pretty feature rich as well, and it goes for most of Hornby's railroad range now too.
It really does. It's worth taking a look further at the railroad range on our website, because there is some great bargains in there, and you don't really compromise on the quality either. But both the Class 60 and the 47 are due within the next fortnight as well, so check out the link in the description and get your pre-orders in.
Brilliant. And we've got 2 other new releases on the horizon as well, so there really is a lot coming through. We've got the next lot of collet bow-ended coaches from Hornby too.
Yes, and these are coming through. These are the standard main line stocks, so the first of these coaches sold out really, really quickly a couple of years ago when they came in. And they've been released in other liveries since. They've been released in crimson and cream and in maroon as well, but a lot of people wanting them for their rakes on express duties on the Great Western Line, sort of 1930s, 1940s. So to get these coming back in, it really is filling a lot of gaps in people's Great Western collections. It
really is. It's like you mentioned before as well, that chocolate and cream, it really is the iconic GWR colour scheme, isn't it? That's what people want, and they want to replicate that on the layouts, and it's great to have these coaches coming back into the range as well.
And that's it. And when they first came out, they got huge critical acclaim as well, because Hornby went to town on covering all the detail variations in the fleet. One thing common with the Great Western Railway is that they have left-hand and right-handed coaches as well, to make sure that the compartments are on the right side at platforms as well. So they were fully tooled up. You had your first-class vehicles, pretty much everything you needed for a complete rake. So Hornby really did cover all those details. The full underframe details there as well. The livery application is great, as you'd expect on that livery. So they went like absolute hotcakes when they first came in.
I'm not surprised.
And we've already had quite a lot of pre-orders for these coming back in for people who missed out the first time. So if you are interested in those, take a look at that link in the description, because they won't hang around at all.
That's it. But if GWR is not your thing and you're looking for something perhaps a bit prestigious from the 20th century, we've got the Pullman bar car, the new Century bar coming through. And this is Hornby's highly detailed Pullman stock here, isn't it?
Hornby's really made a name for themselves with making high-class Pullman coaches, especially over the last 10-15 years or so. We've had these vehicles, we've had the observation cars, we've had the K-type and J-type Pullmans as well. And these come as you'd expect with a Pullman coach, with all the detail you'd expect. The fine printing there, including the Pullman crest just coming up on the right above the bogie.
You can just see the amount of interior detail on there as well, with the lampshades and the curtains and the tables.
And the lamps work as well.
They do?
Fully working lamps there.
Blimey.
Too. You've got flush glazing, all separately fitted roof detail as well as underframe detail. So for a prestigious coach, you've got a prestigious model.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are going to be going for this, aren't they? Because there's been other Pullman stock around for quite some time, so there's a lot of trains that this could easily fit in with.
And people are getting to the point now where they're either finishing off a rake or they're just getting a couple of different coaches so they can mix up the rakes that they've already got. So having this bar car is a little bit more unusual than your standard Pullman coaches, but it can slot in just absolutely fine.
Yeah, it is something unusual, that, isn't it? And you've got that interesting livery scheme on the side there with the new Century bar.
Yes.
So it really is something that stands out, and there's not really anything else like that at all, is there?
That's exactly it.
So that's it for the new Hornby stuff that we've got coming through, but as ever, there's never really quiet here, is it, for new releases and new announcements. So for anything else, do make sure to keep your eyes on our website and our social media channels as well, where you'll get all the latest news, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. For new episodes of Platform 1, we'll be going through new releases like what we've got here today, and other new announcements as well.
And everything we've just mentioned from Hornby will be with us in the next fortnight, so make sure you click those links in the description and get your orders in now.
Now, this weekend, it's the Great Electric Train Show again. And this is a brilliant show, isn't it? We really enjoy going to the Great Electric Train Show. We're there once again with our full stand, our whole team coming along, and you'll be able to get a great look at some of our exclusive models. We'll have the latest samples of our O gauge Class 66. We'll have the latest production samples for our O gauge Class A3s and A4s. We'll have the latest samples for our next batch of FEA intermodal wagons and RHTT railway treatment trains, like the one you can see behind me, and quite a lot more as well.
Yeah, we'll have our old favourites such as the P's and ABs there too, which have come through before. And this is in Milton Keynes. This is at the Marshall Arena, or Arena MK as it was known. And you can see an example of what we took last year there as well, with the examples of our Class 66, the RHTT as mentioned, B's and ABs, and well, there's me having a chat with someone.
I was going to say, you're hard at work there, aren't you?
There you are, as per usual. So it's a really great opportunity to come and ask us questions, check out the latest news on our forthcoming releases, obviously to discuss any thoughts you may have on our Project Genesis as well, if you've not got your questions ready for the next half an hour or so when we do our Q&A on this very live stream. But it's just great to meet modelers as well, really, and just have a chat. And it's not just us at the show. There's a whole hall of layouts, other places to get bargains, like-minded modelers as well. So even if you come and see us, it's also a great place to get inspiration for your own project or to pick up a bargain as well. It's just a great day out.
It really is one of the top shows of the year, this as well. I think there's something like 30 different layouts coming this year. You've got 50 demonstrators and traders as well. So if you really want to get head first into the hobby, everything you need right there in one big exhibition centre.
And we do have the full details on our website as well. We have the location available, we have the prices to get in, the times that it's open, which is 10 till 5 on the Saturday and 10 till 4 on the Sunday as well. So if you need any more info on how to get there and when to get there and why to come as well, if we've not given you enough reasons, check out the link in the description and head over to our website for the full details. We'll see you there.
That's it. We really look forward to seeing everyone there if you're able to come along. Obviously, like Dave said as well, you'll be able to get all the details on our newly announced Genesis coaches as well. But there is the opportunity to do that today as well. So do make sure you get those questions down there in the comments, and we'll be able to answer those with our project development team later in the show as well. Right. So we've got even more stuff on the horizon now. We just thought we'd give you a bit of an interlude with the Great Electric Train Show there before we went headfirst into even more announcements.
Even more news. Now, this is Oxford Diecast's announcement. Now, we usually get 3 announcements a year out of Oxford Diecast, and this is their October version. So a lot of new models coming through for them in the diecast range there. Quite a lot of different vehicles coming through, including a newly tooled Mercedes Sprinter van in double O gauge as well, which really goes well alongside the Ford Transit and the Volkswagen vans that have come through recently. The first one that's coming through is in the Stobart Air livery, so that's coming through, but also the return of a lot of old favourites as well. You've got the Commer van there and the Rail Express Parcels and the Circus livery too. So about 30 or 40 new items have been announced, all of which are available to pre-order right now if you click that link in the description.
That's it. We've compiled them all together on our website in one really handy catalogue as well, so you can very easily browse through all the different product types available. As you can see here, we're just skimming through a few of them now, and there's a huge variety of things there. You can see there's modern cars such as the Bentley Continental GT, and you've got some older classic cars here as well. There's a lot of commercial vehicles coming through, buses, trucks from the 20th century right up to now, you've got brand new coaches like this Barnes one, Arizar i6 you can see there. You've got diggers. There really is something for everyone in the Oxford releases. So they do try to cover quite a lot of different eras and vehicle types. I don't think we'll have time to go quite through every photo we've got here. There's quite a few skimming through, but I'm sure there's something here that might tickle your fancy. But that's not all. Do make sure to go to that link in the description and you'll see everything that Oxford has announced for Q3.
That's exactly right. There's a fully comprehensive list of what's been announced and available right now, and you can pre-order today too. But from the 1930s to the current day, whether you're an O gauge, double O gauge, N gauge modeler, and also planes in 1/72nd scale, the 1/18th scale bubble car as well, there's pretty much something for everyone in this announcement.
There absolutely is, and realistically, there's already a massive range out there already. I believe there's thousands of items in stock from Oxford Diecast right now. So if you're in need of some new diecast vehicles for your layout, there's no better place to look.
And let's be honest, the reasons to put cars on your layout are absolutely endless. You could have a car carrying train, a car park, a traffic jam scene on your layout, maybe a crash or a police chase if you wanted to as well, getting quite imaginative. And it's catered all in the Oxford Diecast range as well, pretty much for every scale. So would recommend having a look, and if any of these new releases have taken your fancy, such as the AA van we saw there at the end, you can pre-order those right now.
That's it. I mean, no layout's really complete without road vehicles, is it? I mean, there's not really many scenes that wouldn't benefit from a few cars or trucks or vans or buses or whatever on the layout.
It's not all about railways. As much as we'd want it to be, it's not all about railways.
That's it. So there's a few guys really getting excited about this stuff. We've got 700 Shunter says he'd like to see a steamroller from Oxford Diecast. I don't know if they've produced one of those already.
There have been a few steamrollers available. I think we've actually got some in stock right now as well. So if you take a look at our listings, we do have a whole category for traction engines and those sort of vehicles, showman's engines, etc. If you view the category steam road vehicles on our website, it will all be there for you, what we've got now and what we've got available to pre-order as well.
That's it. Check out the website for all that. Ono Mulder says the Capris look really nice. I'm a bit of a Capri fan as well. Bluegrass Rail fan says really interesting variety there. There really is, isn't there? They never really disappoint with their quarterly releases, do they? Ian B says, would be nice if Oxford would make a 00 van with opening rear doors. That'd be quite interesting. You could get some different scenes there, perhaps. Maybe something like an ambulance would be good for opening rear doors, because you could get some good scenes on the go there.
That would be a good idea.
Bluegrass Rail fan again, he says, trying to see if he can recognise anything he might have seen on Top Gear over the years. I'm sure there's something
things in there, and I think you can actually get some of the Top Gear vehicles as well in O gauge, such as the customised vehicles they've made for some of the shows as well.
I've got a few of those myself. They did the cars that they converted for use on water.
Oh yes.
So the camper van, or damper van, I think they called it, the Nissan, and the I can't remember what the third one was now, but you've got all those as well.
But of course, there's a lot of favourites coming through there, many from TV shows as well. So it really is just worth taking a look through the listings, and wherever it is a feature of a TV show, we do usually add it to the listings too, so it'll stand out like a sore thumb.
That's it. Gronkson Model Railway also says he'd like Oxford to do a road railer excavator in different scales, so that's an interesting idea. If there's any ideas that you'd like us to do as well, do make sure to get in touch with our development team at ideas@hattons.co.uk. You can suggest anything to them and it will be considered in their plans as well.
And of course as well, in the meantime there, if you do want a road rail vehicle from Oxford, they have made the road rail Land Rover as well, which we can supply you in British Rail or Network Rail liveries, so take a look at our listings for that one if that's up your street.
They really are fantastic, those road railers, aren't they? There's a lot of detail there, and you've got the posable wheels on them and stuff. They're fantastic. I really like those. And that's not all from Oxford at the moment, is it? We've got some...
It's not actually. I mean, these are the new announcements, but we've also, at pretty much the same time, we're told that there's quite a big new delivery on the way of items that have been previously announced but are forthcoming as well. And that's not only the diecast, that's the rail side as well. So there's something for railway fans and diecast fans too. And that's including some new toolings as well, such as the Wayman Fanfare coming through, and that's in the South Down livery. But also some old favourites returning, including the Mini Cooper as well, and that's actually in the Mr. Bean colour scheme, coming back to the TV reference we had before.
It's unmistakable, that one, isn't it? You can't not know that's Mr. Bean's Mini.
So that's coming through, that should be with us in the next week or so, and there's the South Down coach we mentioned previously as well. So again, about 30 or 40 new lines are expected with us, either late on Monday or early on Tuesday. So have a look at those available now if any of them take your fancy. And of course, we'll be putting the full news in our newsletter as well on Tuesday, which you can sign up to, and we'll be featuring it on Platform 1 as well.
That's it, keep your eyes peeled for those. But you mentioned it's not just diecast at the moment, is it? We've also got some rail releases coming through, one of which is the next edition of Oxford's really popular Class N7 locomotive.
This is the one that's been hotly anticipated. The N7's come out in 2 liveries so far and really been taken well by customers and gone to great critical acclaim. That's in the GER Wartime Grey and the LNER Black, which are available to order right now. But this particular version in BR Black with the early crest is available to pre-order, and again, we're expecting it over the next couple of days. And this is the one that people have been waiting for.
It is. That BR colour scheme really suits the locomotive, and it's something that makes it very useful for quite a variety of layouts. You've got an example there with some suburban coaches on it, and it really is it's shaping up to be a fantastic loco. And the N7 has been a fantastic release from Oxford. We've seen a lot of praise from that across all our social media channels, across the website, across everywhere we monitor customers, really. They come in at a great price. You've got die-cast tanks, die-cast chassis, loads of detail on there, and they're very capable runners too.
They are indeed, and they're available to pre-order right now in BR Black for just under £100. But if you want one right away and can't wait the next couple of days, we can supply you one right now in GER Wartime Grey or in LNER Black as well. And these locos really made their name on suburban services running out of London Liverpool Street and London King's Cross as well on the Great Eastern and Great Northern networks. They did that for over 40 years as well, right into the early 1960s. So one of the last steam locomotives used on those heavy suburban trains. Everyone else was changing over to diesel and electric, but they were just that good a performer with those coaches that they ran with. They really did get their name, and they weren't ousted right until the end of steam on BR.
They really were a capable runner, and the model matches right up to that as well. And that's not the only British Rail livery that's coming through as well. There's one that we featured a few streams ago, which is coming through a little bit later than this one as well, which has got some interesting depot embellishments on it. So do head back to our previous streams to check that out, or you can see it on the website too. But do make sure you get your pre-order in for that N7, because don't think that'll be sticking around. Right, so we've got our real life story of the week coming up now, haven't we? And we've been made aware that Merseyrail's new fleet of trains has finally begun testing at the Wildenrath Test Centre in Germany, I believe. So the new units are the Class 777. Now you can see them here being hauled by a Rail Adventure electric locomotive over on the continent. That was it heading over to the test track to begin its testing. This is number 777001, and there's a bit of a close-up photo there supplied by Merseyrail themselves. And you can really see just how modern and sleek these units are looking. And these are actually going to be replacing the current PEP class units, which are the 507s and 508s, which have been running on the Merseyrail network for decades now. I think they're actually one of the UK's oldest operational passenger fleets.
They are, and these were introduced in the late 1970s. Some of them were actually built for the southern region of British Rail, but came up to Merseyrail to help bolster the fleet. And to be fair to them, they have been pretty reliable in that time. They're dependable units, and they've had a full refurbishment once or twice in that lifetime as well. But there's no hiding the fact that they are over 40 years old now, and there's a huge amount of modernisation happening on Britain's railways at the moment. Many new multiple units are being built and introduced all across the country, from ScotRail to the southwest and southeast, and pretty much everywhere in between, really.
That's it. It's something we've touched on quite a lot, is with for example, the Class 800s. Yes. They're really seeing proliferation across a lot of the network now. Obviously, they're in use of the LNER and GWR at the moment, but they're coming through to Transpennine Express. I believe Hull Trains are after some. Everyone's after 800, really, but that's not all. There is a lot of other units coming through, and a lot of these are specialised for different areas of the country. Yes. These 777s are actually very specialised for the Merseyrail network. So they've got a lot of very interesting features, some of which I don't believe we've seen on units before, such as a slide-out step when the train reaches the platform, so that wheelchair users can get on more easily, and it just makes it a bit more level with the platform edge as well. You've got lighting strips around the doors to let you know when they're about to open. You've got a mixture of different seats, airline and bench-facing seats as well, with tables, so you've got choices there. I know the current Merseyrail units, the 507s and 8s, they've they've only got one type of seats that face each other, and a lot of
Yes.
people say they don't like to be sit by other people. So I think that's a bit of they've gone for these different seating options to appease people, really.
A lot of these more modern trains that are coming into service now have really learned a lot of lessons from designs that have gone before as well. So all these improvements and styles are not just things they're putting on them on a whim. They really are things that have been trialled and tested and proven on previous designs. So it's just great to see them really acknowledging what they can do to get the best out of these modern multiple units.
That's it, and like I mentioned there, with some of the seating ideas and some of the other special features that they put into the Class 777, that is based on what the consumers want and what rail passengers have wanted from the train. So like you say, they've developed them from the earlier designs, but they've crammed them full of new features which are specific to the lines that they're going to run on as well.
It's a great time to be a rail fan in the UK at the moment as well. We've seen a lot of those old units heading off into the sunset, but also the new units coming in. That huge transition just means there's so much variety on the UK network at the moment. So I'd fully recommend getting out there and seeing what's on your doorstep.
That's it, and do make the most of the old units and old locomotives while they last. I am a bit of a fan of the PEPs, really, as a lot of people will know. I really like the 507s and 508s as well. So I think I'll be having to get a few more rides in before they head off. But I'm really excited to see the 777s come through as well, because they're shaping up to be really nice. But like Dave says, there's plenty going on across the network. You've got Greater Anglia bringing in new trains. You've got TransPennine with the locomotive hold operations with the 68. Yes. There's something for everyone out there, really. So do get out there and enjoy the railways, really, because it's ever-changing, just like the modern railway industry. Right, so now we've got time for a little bit of a question and answer session, so do get your questions down in the chat. I'm going to remain here for about the next 10 minutes or so. We're going to cut over to a special video all about our Genesis project, and then after that, Dave, our product development expert, will be swapping out with me, and he'll be answering all questions about the Genesis project and giving you a bit more detail. So do make sure to get those questions down there, and he'll be answering those. But any other questions, let us know, and we'll be here to answer those for the next 10 minutes or so. Right, we've got David Tattersall, and he says, is there any news on the O-Gauge Class 55 Deltics?
The O-Gauge Class 55 Deltics will be with us in November. There's 4 new liveries coming through, popular rerun of a popular model, and we've got BR Green with either no yellow ends, half yellow ends, full yellow ends, or BR Blue as well. You can pre-order all of those right now, and the latest we've been told is November.
Helgen's really doing a good job with these big O-Gauge diesels, aren't they? And the Class 55s are really well received, so we're really excited to get this next batch in as well. Marius Musig says, when is the Railroad HST 125 coming out?
It's looking like they're going to be the start of next year now. There's a couple of different variations coming in. There are the blue-grey power cars in the original livery there, the 125 Intercity, but also the train set as well that's coming through in the really up-to-date GWR green as well, that's been carried by the vehicles for the last few years or so. Both of those looking just after Christmas.
Excellent. So we've had some updated photos on those recently as well. So if you do head to our website, you can see those. It's shaping up to be a really nice little set for the price as well. There was a lot of love for it on social media. It's looking really good, isn't it? Right, we've got Vector Baroni here, and he says he's got a Helgen question. With the new Linton and Barnstable Loo locomotive, he sees that the pictures didn't have the nameplates on the tanks. Will the finished articles have those fitted?
The plates on loo and lid come in the detailing pack for you to pop on yourself when you get them, because a lot of people might want to change the name or change the number, so they're not coming pre-fitted, but they are supplied in the detailing pack for you to fit yourself.
Yeah, it's great that they're included in that way, because it does make it a lot easier. Like you say, if you want to do a bit of modifications, or you might want to weather your locomotive first and then place a nameplate on so you can still see it with the weathering. There's a lot of things there, so it makes sense. Will Braddock says, is there any news on the Helgen Class 25/3 in double O-Gauge?
Now, we have just seen a first decorated sample of that. It's actually available to view on our website as well. It was hand-painted in BR Blue livery. Otherwise, we're just awaiting more details on the rest of the decorated samples there, from the BR Green liveries right through until the 1980s, what they call the ice cream van, BR Large Logo Blue as well. But all of them are available to pre-order now. As for an exact date for release, we haven't got anything fully confirmed. We're expecting spring, summer next year, but as soon as we get a more definitive date, we'll add it to our system and let you know.
With guests this weekend as well, we never know what to expect. There might be more updates on that model and other models as well. So if there is anything that comes out of the show, we'll be sure to let you know next week as well.
We will indeed.
Sammy B Films says, what loco has never been made but you would like to see in a model?
Oh, now that's a tricky one. I mean, where do you start? There's thousands and thousands of locomotives. I think the one for me is the LNER Garrett. It was a sole locomotive.
I think you mentioned this when we looked at the Bay Garretts last time.
Built by Bayer Peacock in the 1920s and ran up until 1951 and used on an incline near Sheffield called Waugh as well. So that's one that I'd really like to see made. But in the meantime, I'm placated by having the LMS Garrett coming through in double O gauge and in N gauge by ourselves as well.
Nice. I think I'm going to go, seeing as we've been talking about Merseyrail today, I've always been a bit of a PEP fan. I know it's not a locomotive, but model needs to be made. I'd love to see a PEP in double O gauge. We've got Jack Gerling says, what's the precise date for the experimental purple A4 coming out?
We haven't got anything more definitive other than within the next fortnight. We have just been told that it's within the next 14 days. But again, as soon as we can pencil that down right to a day or a couple of days, we'll get that information updated and let you know.
But like you say, that's coming very soon, isn't it?
It is
so
indeed.
Keep your eyes out for that one. Jack Gerling says, are there any more railguns in the making? Now, we've already had the original green liveried railgun come through. We've had the camouflage sort of livery come in, and we've had the train pack come in as well. Now there is a sound fitted train pack on the way as well. If you'd like to pre-order that, check out our website. The product codes start with OR76BOOM, so it's really easy to remember that one if you want to search that into our search query on the website. But we're really excited to see that one come through with the sound fitting there, because we have heard that there is going to be gunshot sounds on the decoders, so we are going to have to test that one out. I think we'll have to show you that in a future episode of Platform 1 as well.
We certainly will do, but in the meantime, we do have the Bosch Buster on its own or the Bosch Buster train pack available to order right now.
That's it. We've got John Fenny here in the comments as well. He's just a question about the Andrew Barclay bundles that we recently revealed in the last live stream, and if we've got any news on future bundles as well.
It's something we're looking into. We have got more ideas and we're open to ideas as well there. We are sticking with the ones we've got available at the moment, all of which are a great bargain to get a full locomotive and a rig of wagons to go behind it as well on your layout. But there's always ideas to the future as well, so as soon as we'll know, we'll let you know.
That's it. And the ones we've got, they're selling really well at the moment as well. Yes. There's quite a few different variations out there. They feature the Andrew Barclay locomotives. There's a passenger pack with a P-class locomotive. And there's also an industrial locomotive starter pack with a Peckett W4 as well. So there's quite a bit of choice there. A few goods workings, a few passenger workings, and a lot of colour and a lot of difference in there, and they look really lovely. So it's a great way to get a full train for your layout for a bargain price too, and a full detailed one at that. Jack Gerling also says, when is the mixed freight train set by Hornby due out?
That's another one that we're expecting just after Christmas now. I believe that's the set that's got both a steam locomotive and a diesel shunter in it too. So you get 2 locomotives and 2 sets of wagons for it as well. But the latest date we've been given there is just after Christmas. Possibly
another one to cheer you up in the post-Christmas period there as well. Sean Courtney says, is there any updates on our Placer crane in Double O?
That's coming through at the moment. I believe the development team are working on that and the CADs are being developed at the moment. But that is something that's coming through. And again, as soon as we've got more significant updates on it, we'll be the first to let you know.
That's it. Keep your eyes tuned to Platform 1 and our website, and we'll provide more updates on that when we can. Danger Dave, there's a lot of zeros there. I'm afraid I don't know how many there are. Danger Dave 001 says, any news on Hornby's 040 Peckett's limited editions? So I believe that'll be the Huntley and Palmer's pack, won't it?
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, that has sold out on pre-order, hasn't it?
It has. We haven't got that available to order right now, but if you have got an order in already, we have been told that alongside a couple of the other Peckett liveries, are due with us towards the start of December. There are 2 more as well that are coming in summer 2020, and the dates for those are on the listings on our website.
Brilliant. We've got Onno Mulder again. He says, is there potentially a Class EM2 due out at any point?
A Class EM2 is available in double O gauge. If you take a look at our website, they are categorised as Class 77 locomotives, but they were designed by Helgen and they are available to order on our website right now.
That's it. And one final question we've got from Gareth Waite, from Model Bezez 84 there, says, any word on the Class 66s? And from Gareth Waite there as well. So we are still expecting them in December 2019. And we've got pictures of all the painted samples on our website now, so if you want to go check those out, you can do so.
And of course, if you do want a closer look at the decorated samples of our Class 66s, pop along to the Great Electric Train Show this weekend in Milton Keynes, where we'll have them available, shall I say. And we'll be able to have a chat with you as well. Both myself and Jack are there, as well as our exclusive commission manager Dave Milett and the rest of the Hattons team as well. So we'll see you there if you want to see the 66s or any of our other projects up close.
Yep, really looking forward to seeing you all there. And I know a few guys in the comments have already said they'll be coming along. So do make sure to come up and say hi. You can see we're actually real people and not just figments on the live stream, just holograms. Like, so we do exist. So I'm going to be heading off very shortly. I will be replaced by our product development expert, Dave Milett, who will be answering all your questions on our Genesis project. Just before I go, Genesis, very excited about this project.
It's an absolutely incredible project. It really does bring that Victorian and Edwardian class to 00 scale, really, and bringing in such variety of vehicles, some really exquisite liveries there as well. And it's really excited, not only ourselves, but a lot of the model railway community out there as well. So we're really excited and glad to be able to bring you this Q&A session now. And we'll give you a bit of a preview as well to show you what it's all about.
That's it. We're going to cut over to our special video now, which is a bit of an introduction to the project, and we'll just give you a bit more of an idea of what is coming through. And once it finishes, I will magically have disappeared, and you'll be able to ask any questions live to our development team. So we'll cut to that video now, and I will see you guys in the next episode, or maybe see some of you at Get as well. I'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Dave Milett. I'm the exclusive commissions manager here at Hattons, and today we've got a fantastic new product announcement for you. So, what is it? It is 4 and 6 wheel coaches in 00 gauge, and we're calling this Project Genesis. It's a project that's come about because there's been a lot more pre-grouping locomotives released in the last few years, and the whole interest in this whole sphere of model railways is greatly increasing. So it's a great time to bring out some brand new coaches. So what's included in the project? Well, we're going to be tooling up 2 chassis for the 4 and the 6 wheel coaches, 6 body shells, but within those 6 body shells, there's going to be able to ally them with paint and printing techniques to be able to create a whole host of different coach types. Body types include 4-wheel 5 compartment, 4-wheel 4 compartment, 4-wheel brake, and 6-wheel 5 compartment, 6-wheel 4 compartment lavatory, and 6-wheel brake. Along with the types of body shells, we've also included different types of roof furniture and also the option of having steps on the side or not. So the roof furniture includes oil lamps, gas lamps and electric lights to properly represent the top of the roofs for the whole of the coach's lives. There is also the steps on the side of the coaches. The lower footsteps are removable on coaches that are fitted with it, or if they do not come fitted, they will be in the packet, so if you would like to add them, to properly allow you to make the coach look exactly as you need it to for your area and era. So the pre-grouping era is a fantastic era to model, but it's also one of the most complex, with a lot of the smaller companies having their own design flair and influences within the coaches. So it's been a very, very hard choice for us to decide what coaches to produce. So we've come to the decision in that we're going to create a coach, take elements of everyone's other coaches, putting it all together in a representative coach that looks just like a coach that could have been running during the era, but it allows us to put it out in any of the liveries that the companies had. And it means it just looks really nice for whatever layout you've put it on. Currently we're at the CAD stage. That means that we're still putting all of our designs together, incorporating all the research we've done, looking at all the images that we've taken of the real coaches as well as period images, and making sure that it all goes together, which means there's still some way to go before we'll be able to show things. But we have got full artwork for all of the coaches to show exactly what they'll look like when they come out, which colour schemes and everything. So that should give you a good idea for when you're purchasing. So what we're going to announce today is 3 batches of coaches. So within the 3 batches, there's a whole host of liveries and coach types. So I think everyone who models any sort of steam era layout should be able to find an excuse for one of these on the layout. So the batch 1 liveries include Great Western Railway Chocolate and Cream, Great Northern Railway Teak, L&WR Plum and Spilt Milk, South Eastern Chatham Crimson Lake, LMS Crimson, LNER, no, the LNER livery we're calling pre-war brown. It's the brown livery they painted the old pre-grouping stock in. Southern Railway olive green, and British Railway departmental liveries. So there's a couple of tool vans there, one with as a crane runner to run with a nice big 45-ton crane. So there's a lot in that initial batch anyway. They're going to be due out at the start of 2021. The order we released them still hasn't been finalised yet, but as soon as we know, we'll let everyone else know. But that's when they'll start. We've got 2 further batches of coaches coming, and if you head over to hattons.co.uk/Genesis, then all of those liveries are there. Batch 2, all of those coaches that have been announced today, you'll be able to pre-order as well. We don't have a release date for them yet, but they will be coming once batch 1's complete. And then for batch 3, we've announced the liveries. You can't pre-order them just now, but we'll give you more information as the project progresses. But we've put the liveries that we're intending to produce there, so you know kind of what we're planning. All 3 batches will be released consecutively, and we'll let you know more information as soon as we have it. Coaches come with a choice of lit or unlit versions. The price for the unlit coaches will be £30 for a single. We're also producing some coach packs. Now these are packs of coaches we've put together, sort of a representation of a rake to get you started and to give you a little bit of a discount on it as well. The coach packs for unlit are, for 3 coaches it's £85 and for 4 coaches it's £110. Now with those coach packs you get 3 or 4 coaches which run together and will look really nice on the layout. For the lit coaches, a single coach is £36 and your 3 coach pack is £99 with a 4 coach pack coming in at £135. Now, as I said before, the delivery on them is due 2021, Q1 for the time being. Now, again, we don't know exactly which ones are coming first, but we'll let you know on that. So for more information on these, if you head over to hattons.co.uk/Genesis, then you'll be able to find out all the information, including all the specs and any more things you might need to know.
So as you can see, it's been a really busy week for us with quite a lot of exciting news coming through on the Genesis coaches and quite a lot of development too. And joined here by Dave Myler, who's our exclusive commissions manager. I mean, first time in the Platform 1 seat for you, really.
Yes, first time on the live stream here, and it's good to be here to talk about such an exciting project.
And I mean, it's a mammoth project as well, isn't it, really? I mean, how many products are we looking at in total?
In total, added to the system on Tuesday, there was 310 products, which is by far the largest addition to the system by us ever. I mean, the Class 66s with 96 products was a big one, but then yeah, we've definitely surpassed that this time.
So these, for me, really do have that sort of real Victorian Edwardian characteristic as well, and that's captured a lot of people's imaginations too. We've had some great questions already so far, haven't we? Yeah, there's been a lot of people coming in and well, for a start, there's been a lot of really good reaction from just people going, oh wow, I've always been looking for something like this. There's not a lot on the market that's anything like it. But then there's been a lot of questions that have come in that have been sort of really nice, a bit different to what we'd normally get asked with the new release, because with them being a slightly different way of making a product, it's allowed people to let their imaginations run a bit more wild and think of new uses for the model railways that they might not have thought with a more prototypical announcement. That's exactly it, and I believe we've already had quite a lot of questions as well from people watching the live stream too, so if we take a look at what we've got. Yeah, so first one was from Vector Brony. He says, love the Genesis coaches, they make a great addition to the collection, and he's pre-ordered one of each in the SR olive green, so that's nice. So that's the SR olive green that you'd see. The Isle of Wight Steam Railway still has quite a few of these coaches in that livery. So there's quite a lot of people have said, oh great, there's stuff to run with my Isle of Wight locomotives now. Well, there's a lot of locos out there to run those. So there's our own P classes as well, which were produced in SR liveries. There's Hornby's Terrier locomotive that came out this year as well. So some really great things to combine those with.
Exactly. Andrew Weaver said the four-wheel coaches sound great. Will you be making them a livery to match the railway children coaches? As a four-wheel coach in the original rake, there was. I think that was possibly one of the Great Northern ones, wasn't it?
I imagine so.
So it was obviously filmed on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, so it would be one of the ones from the Vintage Carriage Trust. I think it was the Great Northern one.
It sounds about right.
Yeah,
definitely livery.
We are doing a teak livery in that, so the chances are it could be one of those that we're already doing. So if you have a look, if you rewatch the film and try and see what the markings are on the side of it, and then that'll probably give you a clue as to which one it is. James Akers is, what was you got thinking regarding the producing the Genesis coaches? So I'm guessing this refers to the fact that we've done it as it's not based on one individual prototype. The thinking was that if we chose one prototype, there was only going to be very few of them produced, and very limited in scope with the companies that will have originally used them, or the liveries that we can produce them in. Whereas if we do a more open style of coach that looks right, we've heard the term prototypically literate, so that's what we're using. It's great. So it just means that it looks right and has all the right features. It just never was produced in real life. So we produced that. It means we can put any livery on it and it can't be exactly wrong. So it just means that it looks really nice in any livery we're going to put it in.
A lot of these pre-grouping companies really made their own coaches at their own works in their own styles as well. So selecting one to suit everyone is a really tough, almost impossible challenge. Really.
Yeah. To try and get one down is very, very, very difficult. So we've got B. Mozer has said, batch 3 Met coaches, these really need to have the round top door vents, as it's the only thing that makes a Met coach look like a Met coach.
So are they Metropolitan line?
Yeah, the Metropolitan line coaches.
Metropolitan Railway, should I say?
Yeah. So this is the underground system. Before they got the electric trains, obviously they used steam power for a short while. Obviously, they were a very early adopter of electric traction due to the underground nature. But yeah, the Met coaches do. On the top of the doors, they are rounded. Now, unfortunately with ours, we won't be able to change them just for that type of coach. They will be in a faithful Metropolitan Railway teak livery with all the right branding and everything. They won't have the round top on the doors though. This is a very similar thing with a lot of the coaches, where you might have one or two things that they will mean individual to that coach, but we can't really go changing the tooling for each one, otherwise it defeats the objective, the whole process, which is we're trying to create one coach, which means we can keep a much nicer price point. But
as we saw in the preview video, as well as our complete announcement, there is a lot of different tooling variations in there as well.
There is quite a lot of body styles. Once we've finished this batch of questions, we'll have a look at some of the body styles that are coming. So Brad Wright says, this is another one that's come up quite often actually. On your formations list for Genesis, you put an SECRD class and the LNWR. He's put the Clawton. It's the improved President class on the thing. Yeah, not currently available models. Are you hinting at anything? Well, we're not really hinting. We've tried to use locomotives that would be representative rather than just locomotives you can buy. So obviously, where you can buy them, it's a bonus. But for those express passenger trains for the SECR and the LNWR, you really need those locomotives on the front of it. There's nothing out there at the moment that we can put with them, so that's why we've used them. There's no subtle hints at the moment, unfortunately, with those. Although it would be nice to see both of them made in 00 scale.
Certainly would be.
The 700 Shunter said the Genesis coaches, the LSWR ones, would be nice to see behind a custom LSWR 460 class with an 8-wheeled water cart tender. This project really does open up a lot of new locomotives to be able to be have the coaches behind. I mean, we've seen, as you said, with the P-Class and things like that, there are, with other companies as well, the likes of the N7s, N2s, things like that. There's a lot of locomotives out there in the pre-grouping liveries. There's a lot of people that have suddenly found these beautiful, very ornate lined liveries, and this really gives people an excuse to go out and buy them now. Before, it was to be like, oh, that's a nice livery with the thing. I might buy 1 or 2 Locos. Now you can get the coaches to go with it. You've got a full train, haven't you?
That's exactly it. It gives people the opportunity to have a full prototypical rake for that Victorian Edwardian era. But also as well on the LSWR side, you've of course got Oxford Rail's radial tank in LSWR livery. Hornby have released a T9 and the M7 in that colour scheme too, so it's great to have some coaches for them to haul now.
That's it, yeah. Now I think we'll have a look at one of the liveries for this question, because Locomotive Theorov says, was there a 6 or 4-wheeled royal coach, and if so, are they going to be made as well? Now, there were originally some 6-wheel coaches, especially with the LNWR livery. Let me find the LNWR, there we go. So if you have a look at these coaches here, this is the LNWR livery. Now, the coaches that were for the royal coaches were actually very, very specialised, as you would imagine, for the royalty. So they won't be actually produced in a royal version from our 4 and 6 wheel coaches at the moment, purely because they would need individual sides for each individual coach. So it's a little bit too far out of the scope of the project. But there's quite an interesting story with the LNWR livery and royal coaches. I think it was George V was on the throne when the LMS took over from the LNWR, and the LNWR was one of his favourite liveries of any of the pre-grouping. So obviously each of the main large pre-grouping companies had a royal train, depending on where the monarch was going at the time. But when he turned around and heard that the LMS were going to paint it in their Midland style crimson livery, he was actually very upset, because he really liked the LNWR livery, and actually turned around and said to the LMS they weren't allowed to repaint the coaches. They had to stay on the LNWR livery. They could put the branding on it though, so they did exactly that. If you look at any of the LMS era coach royal train photographs, you'll see that the coaches retain the LNWR livery, and that was actually retained up until the late 1960s, early 1970s, and was then replaced with the all-over sort of plum livery that we actually saw before on the Class 47s. So that plum colour has gone all the way through from the 1900s to the present day, so it's over 100 years of using that colour for royal trains.
And there's very few liveries and locomotives that are really done by royal decree. As well.
That's it, yeah.
And of course, as well, for those of you who are Royal Train vehicle fans, there's a great collection at the National Railway Museum in York where they do have some of those vehicles on display, and especially coming to the prestige of the Edwardian and Victorian schemes, as we've mentioned previously on Project Genesis. Some of the names you've got there, you've got the Duke of Sutherland Saloon, you've got the Victoria Saloon, other vehicles of those common names, so some real royal prestige, which these coaches do go some way to recreating.
Yeah, that's it, and there's nothing to say, because obviously they're not based on an exact prototype. You couldn't get the transfers. The people will produce the transfers for the real coaches, so you could turn around and say, well, I'll put it on this coach and make your own royal saloon.
That's exactly it.
So let's have a look. 700 Shunter again, saying he's really looking forward to the coaches. Ben Davis has another LNWR livery question here. Will it be in the white and black? Because on your website it looks like white with dark purple, but will it be white and black on the LNWR livery? It's actually known as plum and spilt milk is the livery description. It's a very, very, very dark sort of purpley plum colour. It does kind of look black on the website, but it is actually a very, very dark plum colour. Ian B, my guess is you'll be researching the colour of the Victorian interior lighting. Yeah, well, obviously with these coaches, they went through quite a change in the lighting. So they started off with oil lamps, which they were fairly reliable, but unfortunately they did need someone to go up onto the roof of the coach to refill the oil every now and again. So that was a bit of an inconvenience and slightly dangerous practice at stations. So they moved on to gas lighting. So you'll get a very slight difference in the look of the light with that. The gas lighting meant that you could have a big tank underneath full of gas to make the coaches to light the coaches, but that didn't go
particularly safe. I imagine.
Yeah, it wasn't for the best if you had any derailments or crashes. Unfortunately, it did tend to set light to wooden coaches, so they had to look for an alternative, which obviously then led on to electric lighting. And all three of these will be represented on the coaches, so you'll have the different top parts on the roof to show which type of lights there are, and underneath as well with the gas and the electric lighting. You'll have either the gas tanks or the battery boxes. And
the diagrams we've got on the website for each livery as well do showcase those too.
They do, yeah. You can see the stuff on the top, quite obviously the differences between them. We've got Breezer 707. It says, hi, great idea to have have lights. Will you be bringing out LBSC railway livery? It's not in our liveries at the moment in the first few batches, but it's not to say it won't appear on the coaches later on. It's just not in these first few batches.
With there being hundreds and hundreds of pre-grouping liveries, we've really tried to get a spread so far of some of the more popular colour schemes from across the country, really catering for, well, pretty much everyone in the UK, to be quite honest with you. And then some of them are coming in later batches as well. So it's not a livery to rule out for a later.
No, definitely not. AD Pullen has asked a question that I think this is possibly the most asked question we've had so far, and we have actually addressed it partly. I've ordered I've ordered the Great Northern set, but are you planning on doing any full break at all? Yeah, as I said, loads and loads of people have been asking this question, and it is something we've looked at already. We've put a couple of diagrams together, which we're just finalising now, and hopefully we should be able to add the full break to the thing, so we'll actually mean 7 different types of coach rather than 6. Because a lot of people have pointed out how prolific the full breaks were in the formations. So yeah, that is something we're looking at putting on.
And again, it extends this project to, we really want to cater for everyone with a coach to have operationally. So adding the full break there really extends those options, including the formations diagram that we saw before. It suddenly gives you even further opportunities to use these vehicles. And as he touched on there, the full break really was in a world of its own at that time as well, not only being used for parcels traffic but also for milk as well, and various, well, pretty much everything you could take really.
And people in those days, when they used to travelling was a big thing. It wasn't like now where you jump on the train to go down to town. It was, right, we're going on a big excursion, the whole family would go and they would take lots and lots of luggage with them, so they needed these full breaks to be able to take the volume of luggage that people would bring with them.
So of course we'll get details of those on the website as soon as they're available.
As soon as we've finalised the plans for them, we'll get them on the website and available for pre-order.
But of course, check out that link in the description right now, because all the coaches currently announced and you saw in the video are available to order right now, with delivery starting in early 2021.
Yeah. So Attis LeBeard on Facebook says, fantastic news. The Hull and Barnsley had some similar to the Great Northern Railway teak ones, closer than my kit-built GDR ones anyway. And you can see those becoming chicken coops in 2021. So
some really good opportunities here as well. A lot of people I've seen so far are saying about what they can do with these coaches, not only out of the box, but changing them to different vehicles, making them into grounded bodies, taking the chassis to do something else. And we're really excited to see what people do with them, aren't we?
We are, because obviously a lot of these coaches survive today in preservation purely because they were taken off the chassis and put in fields for use as sheds or things like that. And a lot were even converted into houses down on the south coast. There's a lot of houses that still survive where you have the coach body in the centre with a very low roof put over the top to add more rooms around it. And it's very, very surprising how many coaches exist still used as houses today. So yeah, they were very versatile and well used. So yeah, there will be a lot. I think we will see a lot of grounded bodies and people using the chassis for other purposes and building their own things on them.
May have to run a competition for best amended coach at the
time. Another Facebook question from Christopher Barton. Might it be an idea to supply unpainted sets? It's not something we've looked at the moment. Again, maybe in the future, but at the moment we're sticking to the painted ones to try and help people find a coach to go with their locomotive.
And one of the real things here as well is those pre-grouping liveries are so exquisite, especially compared to more modern liveries as well. It is quite tough for people to get the transfers on and do the full paint schemes as well. So we want to produce those in fully highly detailed, high definition printing, exquisite colour schemes to really hark back to that Victorian Edwardian era as well, to make them quality of delivery match the high quality of the detailing.
700 Shunter said, are the coaches from Project Genesis going to be coming with train packs with a locomotive? He's got all the good questions today, hasn't he? So it's definitely something we've looked at. Obviously we've got RP classes to go with them, but we'll definitely look at when they come into stock, what other locomotives are available, and we'll see what train packs we can come up with them.
As we touched on before, there's a lot of great locomotives out there already, not only that are currently on the market, but are also coming through as well. You've had Hornby's H-Class in SECR livery, you've had the coal tanks in NWR livery too, there's Midland locomotives, Great Western locomotives appropriate for these. So there's already a lot of great combinations you can make, but we'll certainly look into providing some ourselves as well.
Similar to the previous question about the unpainted ones, James Hilton on Facebook said, is it possible to do a batch in fairly plain maroon or brown lined and with class designation but no company lettering? Again, it's something that we could look at in the future, but for the time being, we're trying to stick to the realistic liveries. What else have we got? Brad Wright. Hello, got a couple of questions about the GR Batch 2 coaches. Firstly, what made you choose GR brown over crimson/teak, as chocolate is the most niche livery and has the least uses out of the three? With the GR one, the brown livery, we were looking at the sort of the latest livery we could get out of the GR and the most likely to be carried with the pre-grouping locomotives that are available. So the brown livery that they painted, it was the livery they painted on when the coaches were getting towards the end of their lives, and they were sort of just, right, we'll put a colour on this that'll look okay, but obviously not take a lot of time to apply, because in those days they would take a lot of care and attention over applying these liveries to try and get it to last the longest.
And they'd look great with Oxford Rails N7 in the GR grey as well, but also some of those really early LNER liveries, I'd imagine they'd have a bit of a transition era.
Definitely.
As well, so if you're an LNER modeller or a Great Eastern Railway modeller, they're the ones to look at.
Exactly. At Arlong UK on Twitter has said, how easy will it be to remove the removable centre wheels from the six-wheelers? It'll be fairly simple, because the middle axle on the six wheels is going to be sliding anyway, so that it'll go around the tight corners. So it'll be a simple case of clipping out, and there should be a little section of trussing to go underneath to add the strength in, like they did in real life.
And that's one thing that quite a few people have mentioned, that we need to make sure that we can get the six-wheelers around, as there's been models of six-wheelers on the market before that don't quite make it round curves perfectly, but that will be a real part of the development there, won't it, to make sure they run just as good as they look.
That's right. Sleeper Agent 01 says, will there be a few headstock beading variations or just one? We are just looking at the one beading variation for the ends at the moment. It's sort of trying to please everyone with these is a bit difficult, but it's looking like the beading variation on the end will just be vertical beading now. Right. With some of the research we've done and everything, and the feedback we've had from customers already, that seems to be the most popular that modelers want, and the most common that are used on the real coaches. And
of course, as well, we are inviting feedback on these while we're at the early development stages. So what's the best way for people to do that, Dave?
If you've got some feedback or anything, obviously you can contact us on our email, which is info@hattons.co.uk, or you can feed us back on our YouTube channel. If you can put comments here, or on our Facebook. We do look at all the feedback and we take it all into account. And we try and, we've already done a few design variations and corrections for the designs from what we initially put out on Tuesday. So there's been that much feedback. It's been fantastic in trying to tailor the coaches to as many people as possible.
And of course, as well, if you prefer your feedback in person, we are at the Great Electric Train Show this weekend in Milton Keynes as well. So we'll see you there if you've got some feedback in person.
Parker.Matty on Instagram says, perfect for branch line modelling and people who want to model pre-grouping who don't have the time/effort to make their own coaches. I'll be defo getting a couple.
This is really what gets this project for me. Yeah. It opens up so many opportunities for people who want to model those Victorian Edwardian branch lines with locomotives they'll already have. But these coaches, a lot of them actually really did get into some mainline situations as well, didn't they?
Yeah. It's not just they're not just branch line coaches. I mean, like we touched on with the SECR and the LNWR before, they were express passenger trains full of six-wheel coaches that would do such large expresses like the boat trains that ran from London down to Dover to go over onto the continent, to take people for that. You had the West Coast Expresses that would run from London up to Glasgow. They would be six-wheel coaches up into the 10 and the 1900s, early 1910s.
And if you take a look on our website as well, which is available in the description, we do have a formations guide on there too, which shows not only some of those examples of the more sleepy branch line trains, as you can see there, but some of the longer formed formations too, using some of the larger locomotives such as the Great Northern Atlantic there. So there's real opportunities, whether your layout's large or small, to get some of these coaches on the go.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see what other questions we've got. Sammy B Films says, will there be a Hattons livery?
Oh, it's tempting.
It is tempting, yeah. I think with the first 3 batches, we might have enough on our plate to be getting them out without introducing fictitious liveries onto these coaches. But yeah,
maybe one for the future.
Maybe one for the future, yeah. Ben Davis says, you said there will be painted interiors, but will they have painted seats or full interiors with printed posters or handrails, etc.? Look, from what our initial designs say, they'll have the seats there with your compartment partitions and things like that. It won't go to the full detail of having things like handrails or baggage, things like that. But they'll be painted in the right colours, so you'll be able to see through and see the representation of what it would look like.
But that's a great opportunity for people to customise these as well, because the roofs will be easily removable, I believe, as well. So you'll be able to get in there really easily, add your passengers, add a lot of the posters, etc., which are available separately on our website as well. You can buy appropriate tools for that right now and really go to town on customising these coaches.
Robert Daniels on the website has said, I've been steadily building my representation of the Bluegrrl Railway for several years. There's always been an element missing until now. Wow, just what I wanted, thank you. Which really shows like it's not just the 1800s to turn of the century that you can use these to model. If you've got a small preserved railway on your line, they'd be great for that to show just that nice vintage carriage rake that a lot of these railways have.
That's exactly it. There's hundreds and hundreds of 4- and 6-wheel coaches still remaining of hundreds and hundreds of different types, all across the country, used on vintage trains and heritage services. So, as you said, you're looking at 130, 140 years of history. Even though they are pre-grouping designs, you can still see them right to the current day in a lot of museums and heritage railways. So it's not just for the pre-grouping modeler.
And another nice thing about the preserved railways is a lot of the time, they won't be a full matching set. There'll be a real mix of different companies, coaches in different liveries. So an accurate set for a preserved railway will allow you to have lots of different types of coach in there.
That's exactly it. So we're coming up to about the 5-minute mark now. So do get your questions in. We've got time for a few more just yet. But of course, if we don't get to answer your question today, do send it in either via email or see us in person at the Great Electric Train Show. Send us it by social media or give us a call.
We've had a couple of people. We've got where is it? Oh, it's disappeared now. Flying Scott and someone else I can't see at the moment have said, will the roofs just clip off or will they be fixed with screws? No, they will be easily to get into. We don't know whether it's going to be the roof or the coach body as a whole, but they will be clipping. We're trying to stay away from screws as much as possible to make it easy to fit passengers or DC seating.
Well, that's it as well, isn't it? They do have a DCC socket in there as well to control the lighting on the light fitting models.
That's right. Elton Loveridge said, will the Metropolitan ones have modern lights or for the LT rail tours? They will be done with what the lights we're going to use is sort of a warm yellow lighting to represent the the oil and gas lamps and the very early electric lights, which would have had that sort of a lot warmer lights than the cold light you get these days with modern lights.
But there again, it's a great opportunity for modern running for 4-wheel coaches.
Yeah. Let's get some more questions. The 700 Shunter is another good one. Will the rake of coaches be able to go around first radius curves? Now, we always say second radius is the radius we look to be for your minimum. A lot of our stuff like the P classes with the short wheelbase will go around it. I can't see a problem with the 4-wheel coaches going around it. 6-wheelers may be a little bit tight for, but they'll definitely go around second radius curves. But you've always got the option with the 6-wheelers that you can take the middle wheel set out, add the truss in the middle as well too, so that if you do have problems going around your first radius. But we are trying to make them go around as small radius as we can.
Yes.
So they're definitely for second, possibly for first.
And as soon as we know more on that, of course, we'll update our descriptions as well.
Yeah.
I think we've got time for a couple more questions there.
I'll see if we've got a couple more. Well, in fact, should we have a look at a couple more of these liveries? Because a lot of people have been mentioning there's the SR Green livery,
yes.
So just put it up here. So a lot of people will recognise that from the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. They have got a lot of 4-wheel coaches in that livery.
Yes.
The Great Northern livery, there's been a lot of people mention this because they've got the Stirling single models that was released from the National Railway Museum.
That's exactly it, and you've also got the Hornby N2 tank there as well.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of people who've mentioned the LNER Brown livery as well. Here, that was the That's not teak livery, it's the brown livery that they painted these X pre-grouping coaches in because they didn't want to have to re-varnish them all, so they got just a very plain brown with the lettering on them.
And all these images, plus images of the other liveries we've got planned so far as well, are available to view right now on our website, and you can pre-order these coaches, so check out that link in the description.
Right, so I think that about does us.
I think that's all we've got time for, unfortunately. So thank you very much for your questions. Obviously, you're as excited as we are about this project, which is fantastic to know. And thank you very much so far for all your feedback and comments and suggestions and general thank yous as well, really.
Yeah, and if you do want any more information, or if you want to pre-order any of these, go to hattons.co.uk/Genesis. That's where you'll find all the information.
And that's all we've got time for on Platform 1. It's been a bit of a bumper episode today.
It has, definitely, yeah.
We've had something for everyone. It feels quite a while ago to start, an hour and a half ago now, but we've featured as much as possible as before, so make sure you do subscribe to our channel to check out all our latest videos. We've got running sessions with latest locomotives, we've got the full details on our exclusives, including the Genesis video you saw before if you want to watch it again. We have an episode of Platform 1 every Friday at 1 PM with all the latest model railway news, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and don't forget we're at the Great Electric Train Show at Milton Keynes this weekend if you're around, so we can answer any more questions there as well.
Absolutely, we'll see you there, or see you again soon.
See you soon. Bye.